So yeah, thanks again for everyone who's coming. We really appreciate your time and your energy. And yeah, we know how hectic everyone's lives are. So thanks for showing up today. And as far as what we're doing is we've been doing this for years of really helping our candidates make a successful application by mapping out the whole process. And this is just the latest iteration of that. So the goal is to share a very structured, introspective approach that has helped all of our applicants get into one of their top school choices and from around the world. And we really want you to understand step by step, exactly how you can build a profile and how you can apply it to the program that you want to get into. And I think a lot of people start with they look at the essays and they're like, I mean, like you look at schools, you've done some research, you think, okay, I think these schools fit me. You look at some essays and you're like, okay, why an MBA? Why now? And it's really hard starting at that point because you don't have your stories, you don't have a structure, you don't have where you're coming from, where you want to go. Maybe you haven't really clearly defined your short and long-term goals. So this is about putting everything in a very doable order, actionable order for everyone. Because I think a lot of people during the process can get a bit overwhelmed, a bit unfocused, because there's so much to do for you guys to make a successful app. So we really want to make something we can walk you through step by step, and you can feel accomplished every time you work on your MBA application or your research, whatever you're doing for it. You can feel like, okay, check, something done, because it really helps motivate all of us, I think, not to just be like, oh my God, I've been working on this one essay for 3 weeks, will it never end, kind of thing. So yeah, that's what it's about today. It's giving you approach and structure to make the absolute best application you can. If you could go to the next slide,
Yeah,
Jess, that would be
absolutely.
great. And so, yeah, like I said, we've been using this method for years, but this is a big overhaul for us. I mean, every round, every year, we try to improve what we're doing. We learn from our clients, we get feedback from them, from our own experiences. But this is the first time we're taking what we've been calling in the past kind of a roadmap into a very visual, interactive Miro board. And so that all your information will be at one point at all times. So your own stories, your resume, your school research, your essay drafts, everything in one location for easy access, and to have a great overlook of everything that you're doing. Now, unfortunately, with this big overhaul, is very exciting and it's working great so far. But since we haven't finished round one yet, we don't have an actual applicant we can show you today, because it's unfair to show their progress in this for people we're working with. So we've used a kind of AI generated candidate I've used for some of my other events. And so the information you see here is based on that. And so it's an 8-phase structures, and it helps you define your unique identity, your core values, your skills, your aspirations, and it helps you synthesize these insights into a really strong, compelling, authentic brand that then you can really be specific for each MBA program of what part of you're highlighting, how it's going to interact with their program, just a very cohesive and complete way of going through the application process. 1 second. And so, yeah, we can't stress enough that like this process, as you know, I'm sure a lot of you are halfway through it at least, is just always takes more time than you think it's going to. So really make sure you have a good, clear structure and you're willing to put in the work hours to get what you need done. Um, Also, if you don't mind today, often Jesse and I take questions for those of you who have come to multiple events throughout the entire event, but we really have so much to cover today. We're really hoping you put your questions in the chat window and we'll get to them at the end in the Q&A session, because we just really have a lot of material to get through and we will do our best to get to them. So as you go, just stick them in the chat room and we'll get back to them at the end. And then also, we're giving away a free hour of consulting, your choice for either Jesse or I at the end. So stick around for that and sign up for my next event if you don't mind. And if you're interested, we have how to use AI for your interviews. So yeah, we hope that will be helpful to you guys as well. And yes, the session is being recorded, so you'll be able to get it for 7 days for general distribution, and then it'll go on to Leland Plus after that. We can send you the link if you message either of us. I think Jesse just put our profiles in the chat window. If you message either of us, we're more than happy to send that to you too as well. And then we also have a takeaway from this, which is like some of the questions we use to deep dive into the first phase 1 and phase 2 of this, which we're happy to send you as well. Yeah, okay, so Jess, I think it's good if you want to take over.
All right, all right. A little bit about us for people who don't already know us. We have actually been out of the country since 2010. we were lucky enough to have met each other at a very, very young age. I was 15 and was 16 when we first met, and we've been together, I'm going to show our age, about 35 years now. We have been helping MBA applicants for a lot of years at this point. We've been really, really successful. More than 100 clients accepted to, all M7 programs, all top US, T15, T20, and then, go through the Financial Times, all the top European schools. So we've got a really, I think, good depth of experience that we've developed. We do have a bit of a specialization in international applicants, because I think it just kind of developed from living and working abroad. And a big part of the reason we joined Leland was actually to continue expanding the geography. But until Leland, we weren't working with any of our compatriots. We weren't working with any, Americans. So it's been a really wonderful experience where now we are, with Americans applying to US, and then Americans to international schools. And so it's been really, really an exciting kind of expansion to our own business. We've had our own private business for this a little more than 8 years. So now we kind of have two prongs of the business. Let me see if there's anything else I want to make sure and cover. Yeah, if anyone feels comfortable with your cameras on, we love it to be as kind of personal as possible. If you're not, don't worry about it. And I think with that, we'll go on to the first slide. Well, we'll go on. Here you go, Em.
Okay, so this is kind of an overview, just a snapshot of what we're going to work through today. And so we have these basic 8 phases, and this shows you, this is the Miro board, and we color coded it. And so phase 1 is your life timeline, so the foundation of everything that's happened to you, as much as possible as you can share. Phase 2, you're going to look at some key story summaries. Phase 3, we're going to deep dive into all these as we go, of course. And phase 3, your core values, your superpowers, what really sets you apart. Phase 4, your goals and purpose. Phase 5, your MBA needs. And then so we take those first 4 stages that are really about you and being authentic, and then we start applying it to your MBA. And then we're going to look at phase 6, where you get your own, write a very strong narrative. And phase 7, your specific school fit and strategy. And phase 8, your application. You're actually applying it to your short answers, to your essay, to your resume, to make sure it's all cohesive. And so I really like the Miro board mapping we're going with here, because it's just so great that you can import all of your documents. You can have your GMAT results, you can have your spreadsheets, you can have your Word docs, you can have your school research all in one place, and then you can move it around and copy and paste it as needed to put together different applications, to put together parts of your resume, whatever you feel you need to do. And so you'll see, like in phase 3, the boxes there show their Word documents. If you click on them, they expand. Make sure, sorry. And the most one of the most valuable aspects of this is often when you're doing school research, it's really easy here if you're color coding to see how to match, your strengths, your passions, your leadership examples, your stories, all with the program's essays, short answers, everything like that. It's just, for me, I think it's a very natural workflow to have everything, rather than having your Excel spreadsheet open, your Microsoft open, and your school research page open, and then trying to combine it all in one spot and bring it together. I really like this having all in one place. And it's great too to share with us, with friends, with family, with whoever that you're getting feedback from. Instead of sending them 10 or 20 files they have to slog through, you get everything in one place where they get an overview of who you are and can give you some great feedback, constructive feedback on that, hopefully. So we're going to focus here now on the first example on the next slide. So this is your life timeline. And as I said before, Priya's life is AI generated, so there's a couple of misspellings and probably a few inaccuracies here, but overall, it's a very authentic look at very similar to a lot of candidates we've helped successfully achieve their dreams. And we really want you to list. A lot of people really focus on the professional, and they kind of overlook a lot of our passions, a lot of our callings in life come from very monumental personal experiences. So of course, professional, academic, very important, but don't overlook that personal side when you're putting a timeline together. You really want to look for transitions, for significant interactions, for achievements, for challenges, emotional experiences, formative moments, and not just the positive. We want to see where maybe you fell short of your goals and maybe how the MBA is going to help you get there, or maybe what you learned from it and what you're applying now and how you've grown because of that. So don't just stick to the positive. Make sure in your time lifeline you have all those significant events. Include hobbies, include travel. I mean, we know in all these applications, there's lots of room to personalize it. Of course, volunteering is great, personal experiences. And just think about moments and events where you formed a true belief, something that really, kind of focused who you are or how you saw the world. And right now, don't worry about deep analysis. This is just getting everything out. So you have a great backbone, a great foundation to work from as you decide what you want to highlight about yourself, your applications. Don't filter, don't judge, just get it all out there. Color code like leadership green, skill set red, just so you can easily look as you start building it out bigger, and you can cut and copy or paste very easily. I like the vertical top to bottom because, as you'll see and see on the last slide, the flow really works well for moving like your stories here, there, and across kind of like your progression as it goes on. For instance, part of what we're going to give you guys if you want to message us is a list of some questions that will help you deep dive. So for instance, think about defining moments in your childhood that changed the way you saw yourself or you saw the world. Think about specific moments that helped you form a strong belief or rule about yourself or the world. Think about time you had to start over or adapt quickly. What are the experiences left you feel inspired, left you feel energized? When did you make a bold or unexpected decision, and what was the result? So things like that, we have a great list there to kind of help jog your memory, because I don't know about you guys, but on 50 here now, and I know you're probably not up in my neck of the woods yet, it's hard to recall things that happened maybe in high school and university in your first position. So these questions can really help bring a lot of that back to the forefront. So yeah, I think that's it for phase one. Jess, if you want to go on to phase two, please.
Absolutely. So whereas phase one is just, everything wide open, get everything out of your mind, and really, like as I'm saying, don't censor at all. There have been many times where there are moments that you will recall and you think there's no way this is going to be significant. Like there's no way this is going to come into my application. And talking with us or going through this process yourself, you realize that that is a key event that goes all the way back. Recently, with Howard, who we past client, we were kind of going through the process in another event. We found that sustainability was all the way back to his earliest events when his mom was taking him to the store and using reusable bags instead of everyone else using plastic bags. So that's just one, it doesn't always go that far back. So don't count on that, but it's just an example. So after you've done that, then you're kind of going back and looking at that mega list and starting to think, what is standing out to me? Sometimes you'll immediately see some patterns that maybe you hadn't even really thought about. But at this stage, we're pushing you to try and pick 10 to 20 of the stories and ideally going through various points of your life, both personal and professional, and just give a short summary, like say 100 to 200 words, breaking it down into star, spark, par, the situation, problem or task, action, result, key learning, and just break it down in that way so that someone else, whether it be us or a friend or a family member, colleague, could look at this and understand the key elements of this story well enough to kind of think about, okay, how does that relate to you and to your life, and maybe have additional questions based on that. And here you can see just in the kind of example box, this is in Miro an example of where we're using tags to make it easy to start connecting the dots as you kind of build out the whole infinite board. And I definitely, as I said, want to make sure you do a good mix of both personal and professional. Think about wins and failures. Think about those greatest leadership moments, standout achievements. One thing to kind of always keep in mind, and I mean through the entire process, is look for drama. Drama in your life, in stories, is what really makes things jump off the page. Or in an interview, you watch the interviewer just literally lean in because they're now in the story. You have to make this great choice between this, and something is at risk. So what's going to happen? So this, think about that as you're always kind of going through your events, and were there any dramatic moments through whatever story that you're talking about? As you're going through this, you may very naturally start to uncover some of the patterns of your values, your strengths, your weaknesses, and all of this between that kind of mass list and now getting narrower and going a little bit deeper on some of the stories is all beginning to lay the groundwork for the later phases that are going to be developing your narrative, which in our method here is phase 6, and then getting into the school fit and strategy, which is in phase 7. So it really lets you kind of bridge the bridge between the raw memories and kind of your clear identity, and it's the first step in kind of telling that coherent, compelling MBA story. So let me go to the next one for UM.
Yeah, and so here now we're continuing to build, like Jesse was saying. So you had all your stories or all your major events in phase 1 in your life timeline. Phase 2, you now have 10 to 20 short summaries. And now we really want to find your core values, your superpowers. What is this combination of the skills, the knowledge, your actions that make you who you are, and they're going to make you stand out from the crowd? And so here you want to read through, you're going to look at your visuals in your phase 1, your phase 2, and because of the color coding, you can see, oh, like empathy or environmental concerns or, gender equality. You're looking at these tags, you're like, okay, this is coming up again and again and again. And so now you see, okay, I've got these 2 to 3 or 4 kind of core values and, and 1 or 2, or I don't know how your balance is going to be with your superpowers compared to your core values and your skill set. But you start seeing, it's very easy to start seeing, where you really over your lifetime have been focused. And sometimes it can be surprising to some people. Sometimes, like Jesse was saying about Howard, that he felt his sustainability interest had been more recent than it was, and you go way back to having something in early childhood affect him in that way. So yeah, it's great. And then after you've done that, you also want to check for your authenticity, because of course all of us have maybe at certain times had to compromise for work, and maybe you were heavy on a certain characteristic that really isn't your passion. So though you've gone through, you've color coded, and you think these are now your 3 to 5, double check and make sure those things you are really inspired about, when you describe yourself in 3 to 5 words, is that cohesive for what you're seeing on your board? You don't want to force it just because maybe you've been extremely tech oriented, or maybe you've been finance, and so you have a lot of analytical skills. But when you actually feel like, what's my heart of hearts, maybe the end game is different than finance. And so just keep that in mind and make sure you stay authentic as you develop this, and be open to changing as you need. But most often it goes 85, 90% along the way you would expect. So yeah, really think about these 3 to 5 core values, and because they're going to be applied throughout your whole application. And then what will happen is, because you can move and shift things around, I feel like you can get away from those kind of carbon copy essays a lot of people do, where they're like, okay, this why an MBA, why now? And they kind of copy and paste the same thing into multiple schools, and they change the name. If you remember, I cannot tell you how many times, like every year, we get reapplicants that they send us their applications that were denied last year, and they have used a wrong school name in at least one essay or one short answer. So this is also a way to avoid that. You're doing each school individually, but you still have this wealth of information about you to draw from, and then apply it to the different schools and the different programs. And that's really key too. I mean, schools get a feeling for cookie cutter. They don't want that. Just like you want it to be all about you in your life a lot of the time, they want it to be all about them. So this can really help you specialize and be specific. And when you're looking at these core values too, of course, so many people are saying, inclusivity, leadership, there's so much overlap. I really want you to think about how you define that. What in your life has made you set this as a definition for inclusivity? How has that impacted your life? Is that reflected in the work you've done, in your relationships? Really think about a true definition for you, something that's unique to you, just not something I'm going to see in the dictionary if I look up this word. Of course, it has to be in line with that. But yeah. And, consider how it's evolved over time. A lot of people have been on the same track for a lot of years, but what you meant and what you felt as a core value in your 20s could be different at 21 or 22 than it is at 26 or 28 or 27. So, really think about the evolution of it, because that's important too. That shows growth when you're applying this to your application. And as you go, get some feedback, see how you've evolved, how you've been tested, share that with people. And as you're getting feedback, it's great not to wait to the essay end. Everyone waits and they have colleagues, they have a professional, they have friends look at their essays, but often you miss major parts of your life by doing that. So get feedback along the way. It's really important. And, put the feedback in your Miro board, put things you're learning in your Miro board, just keep updating it. And yeah, this is really going to shape your brand and your leadership style as we go forward. So yeah, I think that's good with me, Jess, if you're good to go on to the next slide for you.
Absolutely. So next stage, now you're kind of starting to, everything to this point has been heavily about your past and analyzing that. And now it's time to kind of get to that point of, okay, this is where I'm coming from and this is where I am today. Where am I trying to go? And, so this is then trying to define as clearly and specifically. You're going to hear us and any coach, say specific and specifically a lot, right? Because this is really essential to build a great application. So the kind of components I think of the best applications are the ones that build a really strong, coherent arc that is connecting those past experiences, the goals that you have, and then it makes the MBA absolutely essential for you to achieve those goals. And it becomes logical, right? So you're ending up building very naturally, why do you need an MBA? And why do you need it at this moment? And you are figuring out how to then say, okay, these are now my goals. Now I'm looking at my values and my experiences. Which of these things are connected, right? So if you're doing a pivot, for example, you're going to look at your past, and you may not have directly correlated experiences, but you're going to identify all of those transferable skills, right? Like, what are all of the arguments that you can make that, yeah, you've never done, strategy consulting at all, but I have all of this experience, in A, B, C, D, where I'm doing very similar things. So let me see what else I want to hit in that. Yeah, and it's really you're trying to get at what are you passionate about? I think the strongest applications also really people can see how excited and enthusiastic and some of the reasons that you are living. So these are the impacts you want to have. Which of those past moments kind of caused you to have these goals? And then again, what skills and experiences do you still need? So you're then connecting that to the MBA, and again, very specifically to one school. So you're saying, these are the things I need, these are the things I have to contribute, and this is how I'm going to get and give those things if I come to your school. And that's going to look a little different at each of the schools, or at least it should. So let me see, anything else I want to hit there. Okay, I think that's good. Let me pass it to Em there.
Okay, so we've been mentioning the MBA, but more in an abstract background. And this is what's really important to us, that these first 4 phases we've talked about are really about you. They're focused on you, and it really keeps, like Jesse was saying, your story authentic. You don't want to, and what we see a lot is people look at the school and they love the name, they love the idea of the school, and then they're kind of warping themselves to fit what that school says it wants, or its culture, or its offerings. And so by having this very strong space in who you are, and now having fairly clearly articulated that, and we're going to get a little more specific, but it gives you a good idea of exactly how authentically you will match with the right program, and you'll be able to contribute to that program. You'll benefit, but you're also going to have a lot to offer that program. So now as you look through, we need to look at the work you've done and look at what skills, knowledge, and other general, kind of the missing links to really pull your whole career together. And it's of course professional, but it's also about how it affects the whole community. So you're going to succeed because of this MBA, and how is it going to roll out from you? How is it going to go forth into the world and make the world a better place? And so, yeah, we really want to focus on now the big picture. We're not looking at specific schools in phase 5. We're looking at what you need. And so most of your basic needs are going to be fit by all the schools. It's just finding the exact right fit for you. So you need to look at, your examples from the past, and you look at those things on your timeline, those stories where maybe you fell a little bit short, or maybe you didn't accomplish at all what you wanted, and what skills or knowledge could have benefited you or your community during that time, that you can get from an MBA. And so you have to look at those little gaps in your career and find out, what you need to acquire right now from your MBA program. And you can also look at your short and your long-term goals from phase 4, your goals and your purpose, and you can give specific examples of how acquiring these new skills, these new knowledge will empower you to accomplish your short and long-term goals. And like we keep saying, specific, specific, specific. A lot of people come on board, we meet them, they're so inspired, they're passionate, it's so much fun. And they'll say something like, well, I really want to revolutionize healthcare for women with an online app. And that's great. But does that sound unique to you? I mean, there honestly are hundreds of people right now in MBA programs thinking that, and we need those 100 people. So be specific. What kind of women? What's the demographic? What's the background? What's their bottleneck? Why do they need this help? Is it because they're in a rural area in Africa? Is it because they don't have the access? Maybe they're waiting 3 months in England for a doctor's appointment because the list is so long. So really be specific about your short and your long-term goals, and really look at exactly things that can help you from an MBA to fill those goals and to get you to your long-term passion and ignite it. And you really want making sure they understand this is a crucial juncture. You don't want them to feel like you should have done it 3 years ago, or you can do it in 3 years. You really have to make it clear that it is not optional. This MBA is essential, and this is the ideal moment for you to get an MBA. And so you really have to think about, like, everything I'm saying, everything I'm writing, if this can be applied to another candidate, I need to rethink it. I need to rewrite it. I need to make it just about me. And you really have to look at your learnings and your insights from phase 3 and like your greatest hit summary stories. And this will help you really look at, like, demonstrating how you're prepared to absorb and apply the knowledge you get from your MBA. So you can show from the past that this is a learning that I had in my high school and from a professor in my personal life, and this is how I applied it. And so this can really look at what you can contribute, but also what you can get from the school. And you really want to look at, some questions to think about at this stage is, what specific attributes or growth points from these experiences that you see in your summaries make this the ideal moment for an MBA for you? How are you going to leverage that in the environment, the MBA environment? And how are you going to take most advantage of the resources to really be hit the ground running on the other side of this program? So yeah, really look at all of this carefully. And this is a great step now. It really starts to bring everything into focus in your life in relation to the MBA and really bridge that gap. So Jess, why don't you take over now?
All right. Now we're kind of getting to the point where you have compiled so much information, past, present, and future, and you're now figuring out, okay, how can I distill this? How can I bring this all together into something that isn't just massive information, that's something that's going to become incredibly useful in guiding my entire application. And we have a document we call the MBA application roadmap, which is essentially figuring out, you have, let's say, 1 page, and you need to summarize your entire kind of essence into that single page. And then this really kind of will then guide the rest of your application process. And once you kind of have that, it's great then to go out and share it with friends, family, colleagues, and really, talk to them about, is this me? Like, is this true? Or am I, I wish I was this way. And they say, I've never seen you, do this or behave in that way. And, ask them, what are the things that I don't have here? What are strengths, weaknesses that you see that I've maybe entirely missed? So all of this becomes the complete foundations for your essays, your resume, your interviews. So once you start getting this together, instead of being reactive where you are looking at each school's application, you're looking at the individual essay questions, and your first thought is, this is the question, okay, what matters to me most and why? And you're just thinking, okay, how am I going to answer that? So this is just really making the whole process proactive, right? So at this point, you have an idea, hopefully, of what matters to you most. It's becoming quite clear to you. So when you get to that essay question, you're just thinking, okay, what is it asking me? And how can I answer it in the most powerful and authentic way that that answers the question? And I will hammer on that. You're not trying to distort it all. You want to make sure that you are always paying close attention to what they're asking you and answering that exact question. But you'll have all the pieces of the puzzle that you are trying to overall communicate. And then what you choose to communicate is going to vary from school to a certain degree. This really also then gives you that consistency across all of your application. It lets you get a bird's eye view and come in and go, okay, have I hit this? Is this represented, this strength represented anywhere in the application? I know I need to fill in this gap. Have I communicated that somewhere here? And so you can kind of be just checking things off as you go through. And all of this work goes way beyond the written components. I just mentioned interviews, and I'll take it one step further and say just your life in general. I often say that people should actually pretend they're applying for an MBA just to have this experience of going through this deep dive into yourself. This morning I was with a client, and one of the most common things we hear is just, I'd never thought about that, right? So we're just talking through her life, and there's many moments of, oh, that's just a completely different perspective. There's lots of aha kind of moments. And when you get to the interviews, or even just conversations with friends, families, and colleagues, knowing yourself this deeply prepares you on the interview side. You're happy for them to ask you anything, right? And whereas many people are fearful of, if you get the first question and now they want to dig in, which, for example, with London Business School, I think they're one of the toughest interviews often, because they don't let you off with a single answer, and they can be as little as 60 minutes, but I've had 2.5 hour interviews. So if you know yourself at this deep level and understand all the ins and outs of your life and your stories, you can just be enthusiastic and excited, and you can't fake that. They see that, and the admission committees on the written side absolutely see that. So you're really trying to, as far as like kind of some of the other things to reflect on here, it's looking at all of what you've done. What are the combination of values, strengths, goals that make you truly distinctive? How can you express that journey, even in one sentence, 2 sentences, 3 really powerful sentences? Does your life have a kind of headline or a tagline that really captures who you are? And what are the ways that you're going to contribute to the MBA community in and beyond the classroom? So let me pass it back to you, Em.
Thank you. Okay, so now we get down to the nuts and bolts and the school fit and strategy. And so now we are doing a deep dive research into each school's culture, their values, career paths. This is really important. And first of all, phase 7 is about moving from internal clarity. So you've done all this internal work, and now we need to switch that to this external communication and customization for each of your applications independently. So the primary purpose of this phase is to add target school information to your Miro board, to your document, and then match the data you've already developed in your first stages to that specific school, to their short answers, to their essays, to typical interview questions. Everything that you can come up with, you can start moving your data to fit with what you find in the research for them. And, I really want you to think about, this is a very, very serious phase that people often they kind of do the check out the website, maybe check out a blog or two, and they don't really deep dive. And, if you're guided by your, your phase 3 core values, it's easier to do the research because you know what's important to you. You know the clubs you're looking for. You know the labs you're looking for. You know the hot spots you need to hit for that missing skill set or that missing knowledge that you need to add. And so you can be very specific in your research rather than regurgitating to the schools everything they already know about themselves, about like, Wharton is for finance. I mean, yes, they're very well aware of that. So not that they don't have other great attributes as well. But so yeah, when you really dig in there, you get very, very specific information you're looking for in the school, and then you're able to break this bridge between what you can contribute, what you have to offer, and what you need from them. And you also really need to look at, of course, you're looking at the official statements of schools and the websites, but look at student blogs, alumni testimonials, interview current students, get out there, have live conversations, have meetings. It's amazing the path that will lead you down as you do that. And you need to identify lots of specific programs, centers, research initiatives, student clubs, individual professors, individual classes at every school. And this is where having the Miro board really comes in handy, because it is a lot of information you're going to find. And when you're trying to get through all this, now when you get to the last stage, which is coming up next, and you're trying to write your essays and you're trying to write your short answers, it's hard when you have it in 10 different documents, bringing it all together. But it's all in one place. You're just putting it all together. You're just making it there, and then you're going to make a beautiful essay out of it. I'm not saying the work's done at this point, but you have all the information you need now between you and the school being matched up in phase 7. And obviously I'm very enthusiastic about research. It's one of my favorite things to do, but it is really a key to a very successful application. And we're a bit renowned on Leland because Jesse and I both hammer on this a lot and how specific it has to be to the school. And it really is a critical part to greatly increasing your chance of success. If you feel a little insecure about your GPA or about your GMAT or about your years of experience, this is a way to compensate for that. Really deep dive, really show this school and what you need from it and what you can give to it. And so then as you have your school research going on the Miro board, the exact information about you're matching to each school is slightly different. So you have your overarching theme of who you are and what you're about, but you're showing different aspects of yourself to the school depending on what they need from you and what you need from them. So it keeps everything very, very localized and very authentic. And you just want to make sure that each school is the copy and pasting very rarely. I mean, if you have a perfect GMAT and you have a perfect GPA and you have the absolute ideal number of years of experience, maybe you don't need to worry quite as much, but the individualized applications are really important. You can't just take one essay and plop it into 3 different schools. And yeah, just also at this point, as you're doing deep dive school research, you might see an aspect that you actually don't really have anything that like you're interested in this, but you can't think of anything off the top of your head from your life that's fitting this like part of the program. So go back, check your timeline again in phase 1. And if there's nothing there, put a little thought into it so that this phase 7 can be a great last check for having everything you need before going through that application, filling out every single aspect of it. So when you're down to it, you're not like, oh my God, I forgot I need this, or oh, I can't believe I need this. So here gets you really ready to go through that final stretch. You are now focused, you're energized, and you're not like, oh no, I got to write another essay. You're like, yes, I am ready. I'm prepared. I'm so excited about this because this is what's going to get me into my dream school. Just dig deep and check yourself, check the school, and go as far as you can with it. Jess, let's go over to you.
Sounds great. So now we're down to the final stage, which is when you are composing your essays and all of the application, and really taking all of the work you've done to this point and plugging it into various places in the application. And you've already on your stories dug fairly deep, but at this stage, as you figure out, okay, for Columbia, essay 1, this is the kind of heart of my answer from all of the work that I've done here, and now you're deciding, okay, this story is going to be incredible, I think, to bring into this essay. And at that point, you want to go even deeper into that story, right? So you want to think all the way back to the real time. And if you kind of think of the timeline of whatever project we're talking about or life event, it can help you try and remember okay, it was a 90-day project. This was the first meeting. Then I remember, oh, that next week there was a tough point, and something came up. There was a roadblock to what we were trying to accomplish. So you're really trying to go all the way through the story as much as you can, and that is going to help you find, as I said earlier, the drama or the most persuasive, exciting, compelling components of the story that you are now have identified will go well with this essay for this school. One thing that we always get asked, and I think every coach does, and every school you'll hear in information sessions is, should you try and write what the schools want to hear? Right? You look at their websites and you see, okay, core values, and you talk to a few people, get a little bit of the kind of culture. So should you now just say, okay, how can I give them what they want? And the answer is mostly no, and a little touch of yes, which what I mean by that is you do not want to ever distort yourself. The goal is always your best authentic self. However, each school is different, and you absolutely want to take all of that into consideration, right? So all of the research that you've done that we always push you to do, so much, and talk to many current students and alumni. And at this point, you're just going to really bring that all together. I just entirely lost my train of thought there. Oh, yes. So pardon me, a kind of old man moment. So yes, then you're thinking, okay, these are the core values of this school. These are the components I've learned of culture and these kind of things. So you are then going to choose different components of yourself that you are going to highlight more strongly, perhaps, for school A versus school B. So that's the only way that I think you want to be kind of, you're trying to connect you to each school very, very, very clearly, but not just give them what you think that they want. So let me look at what else I want to hit here. So yeah, as far as like refining and using different components, you will find that there are pieces that you can largely bring from one application to another. A lot of your goals are going to mostly sound pretty similar. You might be changing it slightly depending on the school, but that's what you're going to do. Oh yes, the short answers and all kinds of other places in the application. I often actually advise starting with a lot of those areas, because you're going to find where you might be able to plug in information that now you don't need to communicate in the essays. Haas is an amazing example this year where they've changed their application significantly with the extracurriculars. I actually thought they'd made a mistake when I saw that now their main essays are 300 words each, and then their extracurriculars are listed as 500 words. And I just thought it was a typo. So, I got in touch and they said, no, we revamped a bit and we really want to, get to know you at the deepest level possible. So now you know that you don't need to do a lot of the extracurricular kind of incorporation into those essays. You've got huge amount of room to work with. Not that I'm saying use all those 500 words for all of the 5 extracurriculars they let you. Don't kill them, but you've got a lot of opportunity there. So all right, well, why don't I pass it back to you?
Okay, cool. So yeah, for our best practices and recommendations, trust the process. I know it sounds like a lot, but for those of you that are like midway or no matter where you are in the process, I think it's very early on you start to get the idea of like how intense this process is. And so going through these 8 steps can really lead you there in a structured, formatted way and get you the best you at the end. And yeah, it's if you follow, don't you might want to do phase 1, phase 2, and then you might start working on research. Like, I'm not saying you have to complete all of one phase, like through the entire thing, but try to build it out in the order that makes sense. Then go back and add more information as you need, because you'll be amazed at how much easier doing your applications are if you've done the footwork. And it's kind of fun because you get to do, explore different avenues of who you are and different kinds of research in the school. And, even if you just have 5 minutes, this is the thing too, for me personally, when I have this huge long things to do list, it's like overwhelming, and I only have 10 minutes between 2 client meetings, and I don't really want to start any of these long things to do list. But you jump into your Miro board and you can see this one thing here. I meant to look up this like dance club at the school I'm looking at, and I never ever thought there'd be a dance club at an MBA, and I need more information on that. You got 5 minutes, you research it, you put it in the Miro board so it's there in the future, and it was a great way to spend those 5 or 10 minutes that you wouldn't have done possibly if you had to open 20 documents to start deep diving. So yeah, of course, as we always say, show, don't tell. Let your actions, your results, evaluations from other people really lead the way. It's great to say, I'm whatever dynamic leader, I'm this, I'm that, but you really need other evidence to support that, because everyone, we're so lucky that we work with so many talented people, and the MBA programs are so lucky that so many talented people apply. So yeah, you really do have to show, not just say what you're about and where you want to go. And make sure, like we've said throughout this, balance your professional and your personal. Make sure there's a diverse mix of stories. You really want to show, like Jesse was saying, with Haas changing their extracurriculars. I think that really proves the point that we make a lot, that they want to see multiple dimensions of who you are. I mean, they're giving you more words for extracurriculars than main essays, because they really want to dive in there and get that feel for, like, is this an authentic being? What are they going to contribute to our school? How are they going to interact with other people in the program, with staff, with professors and labs? So yeah, just show a lot of yourself. Don't hold back. Don't just stick to like a strict resume self. And yeah, be very specific. You need to talk about your roles, your outcomes, your dates, results. It annoys me, I don't want to say to no end, but when I see resumes and when I see essays that say 25% increase in this, 45% in that, really? Did you hit every KPI absolutely exactly on the head of your 25%? I mean, if this is 17.5%, put 17.5%. It's much more memorable, and it just seems truer and closer to the truth. So really be specific in every way in that way. And yeah, really focus on your fit and the clubs, the post-MBA pathways that they can lead you to, the networking, really demonstrate real alignment with the program, and keep updating. Like I said, when you have 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, you have a good 2 or 3 hours of work, just make sure everything's on the Miro board, everything on the Miro board. And then when you go to do these final stages, everything will be where you need it, and it'll just fall into place for you. Yeah, okay, that's it for me, Jess, for this. Let's go on.
Sounds good. So as you're kind of going along, we kind of keep hammering on how important it really is to be completely honest with yourself and blunt, and be courageous in being willing to go back even to your things maybe you don't want to remember. Get everything in that timeline up front, and do all of that stage as early as possible, right? We're getting like kind of within sight of round 1 deadline. So you still have enough time if you get going now, but don't wait to really start doing this work. To do it well, it does take a lot of time. So when you are going along, it can be really nice to actually speak out loud your stories. Like when you're getting down to that writing stage and you're trying to see how they're coming across, reading them out loud and hearing it can really help you refine that flow, the tone, and does it seem truly authentic. And throughout the process, you should be asking others for feedback, and don't wait until you're at the essay stage. We do sometimes have people come to us and they say, "Oh, I'm working on the essays, and when I'm done, I'll get in touch." And that's great, but then we get essays that are now close to the deadline, and we're in that position of, well, this doesn't work very well. Like, have you done this kind of work? And they just haven't figured out who they are yet. And it's very clear in, that it's very kind of surface level. So, get other people involved, whether it's friends, family, colleagues, mentors, of course, coaches like us. And the other thing that you can consider is all of the work you've done, you don't want it to disconnect to your, kind of public presence, right? So schools these days will look at your social media, especially LinkedIn. So you do want to make sure that now you've done all of this work, that what they would see there does align with what they're seeing on paper in the applications when they get them. So I would also say really prioritize the fit for you of the school. Don't get stuck on the M7, on the big names. Go through, do your research. You'll find often that you thought HBS was your #1 school, but in reality, it would actually really not be a good fit for where you're trying to go. So don't fear, oh, it's not M7, or maybe it's not even in the US. So really keep your mind open, and all of the top schools give amazing educations, and they have great brands, and you're going to have incredible networks. So don't get too stuck on that. And with that, why don't we jump to Q&A?
Okay, I'm opening the chat here and taking a look.
While you're doing that, I'll go back to the oldest one here. I think let me go back. I saw, and feel free to add some more questions in the comments now while we are going back.
And I'm going to start, if you don't mind, Jess, with
I
see from Natalie G, hello, and it's time for Q&A. Have you seen more American applicants interested in international programs this year versus previous years? Yes, Natalie, we have. I think there's a lot more interest in INSEAD and LBS. There's a lot of great international programs, and I think Americans are looking further abroad than they used to. And not just this year. I think the last 2-3 years, there's been a significant increase in Americans' just desire to learn in a different way, different structure. I mean, they're MBA programs, but you have the different culture, you have the different kind of environment you're in when you leave the classroom. So yeah, good question. And I think that it's definitely a trend. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, what's the next one?
And then I think, Jess, it's in your experience, I'll let you take this one. In your experience, is there any downside to taking the GRE instead of the GMAT? I've noticed most schools accept both.
Okay. At this point, I don't feel there's any difference. It used to be less schools took GRE, and there was kind of question mark of did they view it differently. But at this point, I think the advice you'll get from everyone is try both tests, get to know them a little bit, enough that you can get the idea of the different formats, maybe take a practice test. Whichever you seem to naturally do better at, then go ahead and pursue that one.
Okay. And Jess, are emails of support / endorsement encouraged, or do the adcoms get annoyed by them?
Good question. That varies school to school. So you will look very carefully at all of the FAQs, and usually when you get into the online application, you'll see some very specific instructions for kind of each component, and they will often let you know that. And in many schools, if they want that, it will be right there. It's like, I think with Fuqua, with Duke, they have they actually encourage that if it's available to you, and they give you the information of what you could give to a current student or alumni to go ahead and send that into them.
Okay. And sorry, did I cut you off, Jess? Is that good?
No.
Okay. And then I see, what is the Spark structure, and how does Spark differ from STAR framework? I mean, they're very similar in that they're just trying to get you to focus on the way things unfolded, what your challenge was, and what your result was. So, technically Spark is situation, problem, action, result, key learning, and STAR is situation, task, action, result. So Spark gives you a little bit extra spark in there with their key learning at the end. And I do think the key learning is we used STAR more than Spark, just because it was out earlier and people were used to it. But I think, and you have to go question to question too, right? So some things STAR covers everything you need to. And some things Spark is better because maybe the key learning was actually more important or as important than your result. So I think you should look at the balance and what you want to convey with your answer. And I think both Spark and STAR and PAR are all valid ways to answer these questions and can be mixed and matched. You don't have to just stick to one the entire time. Choose the one that's applicable for whatever question you're answering 100%. And good question. Thank you for asking.
I see another there that for M7 school, so much valuable information. I understand that schools evaluate applicants holistically and strengths in one area can offset gaps in another. But for M7 schools specifically, is there a recommended or ideal number of years of work experience you suggest aiming for? I think for most schools, the overall sweet spot seems to be like 3 to 6 years, but there's absolutely no rule. And if you do your research, you'll find some schools, like some of the European schools, tend to have much higher average years of work experience. I think when you get to the extremes, if you're trying to apply with 1 year of experience, or you're 15 years in, those extremes are where you have, like, I think there's fewer slots that would be available to you. But like for deferred MBAs, they're expecting 2 years, right? So that kind of gives you an idea of when they are specifically saying, hey, we want you to apply early. We want to, kind of lock you in at that point. We're now saying, start the program around 2 years, right? So does that answer your question?
There are so many good questions here, and we're running a little bit out of time. So Sylvia had some great questions about the specific GBS versus HBS programs and a minimum GMAT score. We'll come back to those if we don't have time. If we have time,
we can do them offline too if it's
easier.
Yeah,
exactly. So we can, if you message us, we're more than happy to do an intro or to answer them in writing, whatever better for you. But we're trying to stick to more of an overview than specific schools and numbers right now. So I see, ideally, how far in advance should applicants start their identity mapping? Great question. As in advance as you can. And I know that's not always what happens. I mean, I really think if you can have a minimum of 3 months for this, it's really, really good. And we've known people that we've spent 6 months in this process with them. And the more time you can give it, the better it gets. But we've also had people that have been like, something crazy happened in their life. They got off track, they came back, and they had to do as fast as they could get through this process. And for those people, often they've taken a week or 2 off work, honestly, to just be able to, if you're under, I don't know, Jess, what do you say, maybe the 2-month period or the 6-week period? I mean, it's 8 phases. It's hard to do. Like, the first phase is pretty easy. The second phase you can get through probably in a few nights. Once you get to the other phases, it takes time. And a lot of the school research, the writing your essays. So I mean, if you can fast track it, I think a lot of people could do it probably at like 6 weeks in the minimum without any time off, if you really have time and you really have energy. And then I think if it gets below that, you can still use it, but you have to fast track and you have to maybe prioritize some other things in your event. So maybe in your life, maybe less dinners out with friends and, more time in front of a laptop researching or, something like that.
So we don't scare, if you don't mind me jumping on that. So we don't scare anyone there that it, of course, is possible to, put together still a good application in a shorter, I don't think it's ideal ever, the more time you can have, but it is possible to condense if you absolutely have to. So don't take that as like, if you don't have 6 weeks, don't apply at all.
No. No. Thank you, Jesse. Yeah. And you can do, we've done some incredible apps very quickly. So yeah, you can definitely work under the gun and you can make a great app, especially if you're focused and you're really on it. Yeah, 100%. And if you have, next question, if you have 2 potential paths for post-MBA goals, explore both in essays or lean into just one. So yeah, I think it's interesting. I'll do a first part of this and Jesse, maybe you can address another part of the question after. I think you can also explore one goal in one school's essay and one goal in another school's essay. I mean, that's definitely one way to go. And Jess, if you want to then go on with that.
Yeah, well, this could be very all over the place depending on, this is very applicant specific. So without knowing exactly what you are defining as your goals, it's pretty hard to give a simplistic answer to that. So I mean, number one, you think about why do you have two different goals? Is there a logic to that? Or are you trying to hedge your bets, and in reality there is only one path you want to go down? So if you really only want to go down one path, generally speaking, lean into that. But if you want to talk more specifically about your situation, go ahead and message one of us, and we'll be happy to talk that through with you.
Another good question from Sylvia and from Shristi that are a little bit more. Shristi has a great question here. Well, unfortunately, we're running out of time, Jess. I don't know if you
take
want
these offline.
Yeah, I think so. I'm sorry about that. So we're more than happy to do this offline. I'm going to copy and paste now. So maybe then, 1 second.
If anyone can message us if you didn't get a
Yeah,
question
so let's see.
answered.
So I'm going to copy and paste, Jesse, if you want to go through the end of the slide.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. I will just, I'm going to put a message in here. So if you, I hope you've really found this valuable. Give us some thumbs up if you feel that it was. I'll put the links in here for getting to either of our profiles. When you work with us, it's kind of a 2-for-1 situation, which is pretty unique, I think. Usually one of us is the face and the primary, and then always we're both in the background. We're constantly talking about your situations and brainstorming, and I promise you, we are really, truly in the trenches with you. So if you're interested in working together, please do get in touch, and we're going to give away in just a moment 1 hour of our consulting time. But for the review process, when you finish here and you leave the call, you have to go through 3 stages if you are able to leave a review. So the first one, it asks you just put 5 stars. Then you have to click continue. The next one is really meant for grading if you've actually done one-on-one coaching, so you can just click continue. And then lastly, there's the screen where you can leave a headline and a comment. We really, really do appreciate hearing what the experience was like for you. So thank you so much. And we'll go on to the giveaway with that. All right, Em, you have your famous process for.
Okay, yes. So I'm writing down a number between 1 and 10. And so put your number in the chat, and the first person that hits it, number 1. Okay, Ali. We have Ali
okay,
A. Good. Oh, and here, let me show you. So proof, I'm not paying favorites. We have a number 1 for Ali. And I don't have 10 different pieces of paper with different numbers. So yes. So Ali, please message us. Either Jesse or I or both of us will set up our consultation with you. And so, yeah, and I see. So yeah, I think that's it from us. If there's nothing else, I just want to thank everyone personally. Of course, Jesse will say the same, that great questions. We appreciate you coming to the event. And if you did put anything as far as Nandita, you just put a beautiful comment in the chat, which I really appreciate. If you just copy and paste it into a review, we'd really appreciate that. So thank you so much. Good luck on your journey. We're here to help you in any way we can. And I sincerely wish you the greatest success.
Thanks, everyone. Talk to you in the next event.
Take care.